So, how you doing, Sado? How's your weekend so far?
Well, pretty much done now. Just finished the final. It was a bit anticlimactic, but I think fitting that FaZe was that dominant throughout. But yeah, really good. New York was one of my absolute favorite events last year. Awesome city, so much going on. The whole world is in New York in so many ways. It's got every little corner of the world somewhere tucked away in the city. Fans are great as always, and no, I had a lot of fun.
So, you've been traveling a lot, right?
Yeah.
I believe you were at Mycos last weekend?
I was not. So Henry was there. We split the duo up. I went to my first Canadian event in 2 years and went to Montreal instead, which was, I think, important for me. I wish I could do more to help the Canadian scene, but again, I'm just so busy, and there's a few events I've missed, and I made a point of not missing Green Mag Montreal.
Perfect. So you mentioned Canada. You, in particular, are one of the CSGO casters that is constantly talking about not being able to spend enough time at home. You're always on the road. Do you think that impacts you more than the other casters?
I think last year maybe it did, because where I'm Canadian,
you were home for like 40 days.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, give or take. I didn't do the exact math on that. It's not an exact science, but roughly, it's in that ballpark. And the simple fact is that because I'm North American working in Europe, I tend to have the least amount of availability to travel back home quickly. Mm-hmm. So if we get a break in, say, Pro League when we were in Cologne last year, some of the guys can jump home really quickly and get to London and get to Sweden, get to wherever they're going. Chad obviously has a even bigger issue. He's even further away. We only get one event a year in Australia. And this year I've been trying to do a little bit less. I know Henry has been grinding it out really hard. So I don't think it's fair for me to say that I have it worse than anyone else, especially not this year. But it's definitely rough on all of us, I think.
Yeah, Sponge was actually saying how much he actually kind of thrived on it, not having to focus too much on a home base. But you obviously have Jaden, and then now your race car.
Yeah, which I have for the second time, thankfully. Yeah.
How do you balance that? Because it seems like you're always doing something, whether it's racing, you're casting, you're flying, like you're everywhere.
Yeah, so that's kind of the way I always was, though. That's just the personality that I've had, is that when I'm sitting at home, I'm never sitting. Mm-hmm. I'm always doing a million things. I played, 3 sports at a time all the time when I was a kid growing up, and I was always active. So for me, Jaden's always just been in my life. My first dog when I was growing up, I went through some tough times in hockey. Not crazy tough times, but she was always like, or I guess he in that case, now I'm confused in gender, but my first dog, Fritz, was always there, and then I became a really big dog lover out of it. And Jaden was the same thing, picked her up from a friend who couldn't keep her, and then she's just always been sort of supportive, I guess, as dogs are. The race car was built as a distraction, as something to give me an escape from CSGO casting. I think it almost was counterproductive. I didn't ever plan for it to sort of overtake my focus and pull away from CS, but I've been so focused on it, it's almost interesting. And then obviously it's added stress with the theft. That was one of the hardest 10 days of life. Yeah, no, it was pretty rough. But it's been great. I actually have a race next weekend in Mont-Tremblant, which is the Fall Classic. That race will be extremely, extremely challenging. 3 races in the weekend, 4-day events, and I'll be up against some Lamborghinis and Porsches that'll be kicking my ass. So it'll be fun, though. I'm looking forward to it.
So good luck on that.
Yeah, I'll need it.
Are you a little sad that the Jaden round didn't become as big?
No, not really, honestly. I think it was just enough to be a joke, which is what I kind of wanted. We didn't have a word for it. Bonus round is better, and if it's 5 SMGs, we still bring it out as a joke even still, but no, that's fine. So we've been seeing a lot lately that leagues seem to be overtaking the weekly tournaments, right? We have E-League, Pro League, and Mountain Dew League. Yep.
I've been talking to a couple of people over the weekend.
And ECS.
Yep. Do you think that is where the scene is going to continue? Or are those going to overtake everything else?
It seems like everyone's kind of balanced at this point, whether they're adapting their leagues to shorter schedules or more combined, compact schedules where we have power weeks now. Yeah, so we have 5-day weeks for Pro League, so it doesn't drag on as long. That seems to be working. I haven't heard as many complaints from the players. I still think that eventually, I know everyone didn't like when people forced exclusivity on them. I still think that someone's going to win out and take the lead in that front, and that's when things can really stabilize and our LAN scene can become more connected. Maybe when one LAN means this. I love what ESL did with the Grand Slam, for example.
That is fantastic.
Exactly, it gives some lineage and a storyline that connects all these individual LANs. Because right now, a team wins this. What does it mean? Well, now there's something they can build on.
No team has 2 yet, right?
No team has 2. FaZe has 1, G2 has 1, and SK has 1. And I would say FaZe probably have the best chance of being the first to get
new FaZe, yes.
Yeah.
So I again talked to Sponge. He called a 3-1 for FaZe, but that series was just so dominant. I mean, do you think there was any other chance for Liquid?
I mean, Liquid didn't show up in map 1, to be fair.
That was a bit of a rough one.
And their T-sides, they rely on trading, but on Mirage, they've never really been that much of an execution team, which I think Mirage relies on it in a lot of ways. And I think that in that way, that starting T-side hurt them on Mirage. Overpass was more to form for the trades, but they were just so slow to get started on Inferno, which is a map they relied on. And we saw how much the T-side struggled them, which they, for them against both Astralis and SK, which was 16-14 against Astralis and then overtime against SK to win it. We know that therefore their T-sides were always an issue, so it was just, I don't think the right side to start, and a really slow start. Twist never really got rolling. JDM was exceptional, was very slow. Yeah, exactly. So they've got some issues to work on, but you have to give them credit right now. They've made 2 finals in international events in 2 weeks. Which is pretty crazy. Yeah,
and ACS.
Exactly. That's like Cloud9's summer form, and they're doing it now on a relatively new roster. They were really disappointed that they didn't make the major. So obviously on the ups, I think, is a way to put it.
So speaking of the major, we have no news for the next one. We can hazard a guess that it's not going to be this year.
It's 2018, I can say that. So, I don't know anything more than that, though.
So do you like the change to 2 majors a year?
Yes and no. I think that obviously we want to see more majors for the main event, but because of how much a major brings and adds to the schedule, it's really tough because now you have qualifiers for the minor itself for 4 different regions, into a qualifier to go to the main event. It's basically, if you want to call those all part of the major, it's a 3-month event, and it adds so much more to the schedule, and DreamHack suffered severely from it this year. Atlanta got overridden, overlapped with another event. Austin, we couldn't all go because we were already going to Sydney, which that was always in the way. Then the minors got in the way of tours. I think also Valencia, all of their events seemed to just get beat up on by other people. Yeah. So, and then Mykonos booked over them for Montreal. So I think that it's probably best that there's only 2 a year. I would like to see there be more maybe involvement from Valve in terms of, I don't want to go compendium, I don't want to go international, but maybe some sort of crowdfunding, more involvement of a sort of a festival around the game from them directly. I want to see some more, because the problem is that all these other events are turning out to be so good now that it's almost becoming that the major, aside from stickers, and yes, the viewership goes up because there's hype around it, it's just another event when you're there, and I think that they could do more to really up that.
So with so many different opportunities to watch games on live streams and stuff like this, with the current caster talent kind of being super spread thin, do you think there's a really good chance for new talent to just kind of pop into the scene?
Yeah, I think there is, especially with how busy the circuit is. I think you're seeing that, especially with some of the DreamHacks. They're taking the chance to bring in
new talent.
A new talent. Scrawny has looked excellent. I got to work with him in Montreal. He's definitely going to be a talent to watch in the future and someone who has a lot of potential. Same with Harry and obviously in the UK. And there's lots of other guys in the same boat that are continuing to work and push forward in that realm.
And like the Face It caster challenge and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously that's the thing. I mean, each league is not necessarily exclusive, but they try and keep a consistent voice throughout. And because they're booked over each other, if I'm doing Pro League, I can't do ECS all the time, so they're always looking for people to jump in. And so I think there's room. The majors maybe a tougher. We've got our 3 duos. So it might be tougher, but that doesn't have to be. Just because you're not going to do a major doesn't mean there's no room for you in the scene. You can still have a career and make ends meet, casting lots of different events.
So you mentioned you have your race next week, but after that, what's next for you?
Straight after the race, on a flight back to Pro League. I'll finally join in this season. I had a wedding, and then I had Montreal and this, and then the race. So I didn't join for the first part of the season. It just would have been too much travel.
Exactly.
But I'm straight over the drink and into Copenhagen, and Tuesday, September 25th, I'll make my Pro League season 7, I guess, debut, or 6, I don't know, whatever number we're on.
Is there anything past that has you super excited for? At least this year?
I know there's some that I'm committed to, but in terms of events that are coming up, I mean, there's Star Ladder rumored to be coming up, Epicenter's obviously coming up, there's Oakland coming up at the end of the year. All 3 of those events should be pretty good. I think Oakland especially, that's become, obviously it was San Jose the first year, but it's not far away, so this is ultimately the 3rd year that we go there.
In that area,
and the Bay Area, and I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I know IEMs are always actually a bit of a laugh because Carmack's a pretty funny guy, but no, I think there's lots to look forward to. And Pro League Finals as well. Pro League Finals, it's hard to say I'm looking forward to it until I see how the season turns out, right?
I mean, you can only guesstimate how many teams are going to show up there.
Yeah.
But is there anything you want to say to what the rising talent that we were talking about going forward?
Just keep working hard. I mean, like when I started, I used to go to events and, I mean, Charlie will tell you one of his first events, I used to sleep on a classroom floor when I did land ETS, but you grind it out, you work hard, you do your best, and people will take notice. Even when I went to X Games, did what I could, and if it was enough, great. If it wasn't, it wasn't. But always say yes to an opportunity, and always do it with a smile on your face, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, James kind of showed up at a Street Fighter event and got a job, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. We all have to start somewhere.
So I'd like to thank you for taking the time. I hope you, again, good luck next week. Good luck making your premiere this year. Thank you for taking the time, and look forward to seeing you again.
Thanks very much.